Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening for our next Emerge Live Unfiltered conversation. And tonight we are talking about imposter syndrome. How do you break free of imposter syndrome? So we're actually live streaming on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube right now. So I know we can see comments from Facebook viewers. I'm not sure you ever can see comments from LinkedIn, but I promise you, if we don't catch them during the live stream, we will make sure to go back in LinkedIn and respond because we saw quite a few RSVPs from our LinkedIn audience. And we are so excited to have you all join us. So we'll start with introductions. I am Julian B. Chiganda. I am a transformational brand strategist and the founder of Emerge Live, which is a 3-day transformative experience that we are planning for visionary Black women this April at the Gaylord National Harbor in Maryland. And tonight I have a really dope guest on with me. Miss Lisa Medley, who is, I'm going to let her introduce herself, but I'm just going to say she's an incredible executive coach. She has such a powerful story, and I know she's got some incredible nuggets to share with you all tonight. So, Lisa, if you could go ahead and introduce yourself, give us some background, and we're going to just dive right into the conversation because I know folks have been waiting for this.
The crowd is cheering.
Yes.
Hi, everyone. I am Lisa Medley. I am an executive coach. The name of my company is Lisa Medley Executive Coaching, and I help Black women lead with confidence. And so imposter syndrome has come up a number of times, countless times, actually, in the sessions. I work with individuals, I work with groups, and it shows up in both places, right? And so I'm excited to have this conversation because it's necessary. I know you're going to get a lot from it, and I'm so glad to be a part of your show. Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you for having me.
thank you for being here. And I see a Pamela Bell. Oh, yeah, we can see our LinkedIn family. So, what
Hey,
I would love for you all to do, because this is a conversation, right? It's a conversation with me and Lisa, but it's also a conversation with us and our audience. So, we would love for you all to post your name, where you are tuning in from this evening, so we can shout you out. And so that I see Pamela, I see
hey, Renee.
Renee, I see, yeah, and I know people are still coming in. Um, and I actually want to, before we dive into the conversation,
Mm-hmm,
Lisa, I
mm-hmm,
know that you have a definition for imposter syndrome. I know myself, I think everybody struggles with this. I know um whether it's me or even with some of the clients that I work with a lot of actually Black women. Either they're small business owners
mm-hmm,
or they are influencers in
mm-hmm,
their thought leadership,
mm-hmm,
or they work in these big corporations or organizations.
mm-hmm.
And I often find that as I am working with women to help them build their brands, whether it's their personal brand or their business brand, and really, if it's your business, you are the brand. So
Yep,
that's what it comes down to, right? And
yep,
and Lisa, I know you know this because you've been one of my clients.
yep.
And we've
For a
had to
long
work
time.
through, yeah, we've had to work through some of those things.
That's
So
right. That's right.
um I really have learned that when I'm working with clients to transform their brands, because I'm a big believer in, just because you're small doesn't mean you have to look small, right? And even then, even when you are a smaller business, you have, most of us get into business because we have a big vision for our lives. And I'm sure the clients you work with have big visions that they want to implement. So I've just found that when I'm working with clients to help them transform and grow their brands and build their brands, I'm actually by default doing some life coaching, right?
Yes.
Because it's a mindset thing. It's a
Yes.
lot of mindset shifts that have to happen when they are getting ready to step into a new version of themselves. So I would love for you to give your definition of imposter syndrome, and let's jump right in.
Yeah. So my definition the textbook would say that, it's high achieve. It's about being a high achieving woman, and research has shown that men can encounter this experience too. But it's essentially an experience where you believe you are not equipped and not able to manage whatever it is you're doing. So a new job, a new business that you just mentioned. So when I started working with you, I had the challenge of, this was back in 2018, I think,
Yeah,
or
I think
2019,
so.
somewhere
It was a
around
while
there.
ago, yeah.
And you're designing this beautiful logo and this color palette and all of these things, and you're like, wait a minute, Lisa, I mean, you hadn't thought about this, and have you? And it was overwhelming, right? It was overwhelming. And so what happens is, we step into this space, and then we go, wait a minute, maybe I'm really not equipped to, maybe I am jumping into something
Yeah.
that I shouldn't be jumping into. Maybe it's too soon.
Mhm.
Maybe I thought I was ready to be X, but now that I'm here and now that I'm getting close, I might not be so equipped anymore. I'm second guessing myself. So it's really a second guessing
Yeah.
of your gifts and your talents,
Yes.
right? Is
Yeah.
you talking yourself out of something,
Mhm.
undermining your own gifts and talents and abilities, right? And we're labeling it as imposter.
Absolutely. Yep, and that's so true. And I know that we definitely, those were some of the mindset shifts that we had to work on with you.
Yep.
So when it comes to imposter syndrome, and then I want to real quick just shout out some of the folks that told us where they're from. So hi,
Consuela.
Consuela. Okay.
Consuela.
From South Carolina, Cordelia. Please forgive me if I'm saying your names wrong, from Indiana. Kelly from Columbus. Pam from the DMV. Renee, she just launched her eyelash business. Yay!
Oh,
Congratulations!
nice, Renee.
That's what's up.
Amazing. Congratulations.
Yeah, I see Natalia from Atlanta. I see Pamela from Milwaukee. So welcome everyone. And if you are wherever you are, please share this out with folks in your network, because this is such an important conversation. And as Lisa mentioned, it's both men and women that go through imposter syndrome. I think women, just because we tend not to be as hard, so to speak, like we don't necessarily hide it as well, right?
Right.
So let's start with, I know we talked about what is imposter syndrome, so thank you for that.
Yep.
And just diving into the next part of this conversation, because this ties into the tips that you're going to share to help us all break free from imposter syndrome. What is emotional intelligence?
So, the simple way to think about emotional intelligence is, can I manage the emotional component of myself, right? We deal with emotions all day long, but are we aware? And emotional intelligence is about the ability to use your emotions at the right time, at the right place, with the right person, for the right reason, in the right way.
Yes.
Right? So it is being intentional about how we use and navigate those emotions day in and day out.
Yes. And I'll tell you, I feel like out of all the types of intelligences that there are, right? Because there's different kinds.
A lot of them, right?
I feel like emotional intelligence is actually the most important one, both when it comes to how you relate to other people and how you relate to yourself and really become self-aware.
Absolutely. One of so there are a lot of emotional intelligence models, just like anything else. This researcher found this way, this one found this way. The model I follow, EQI 2.0, is the name of the assessment, and it measures 15 different competencies. That is totally comprehensive. Everything from your level of confidence to your level of self-awareness, to how you relate to people through empathy, your decision making, how you manage your stress. Emotions are involved in all of that. And I think we we don't give enough credence, I guess, to the power of emotions. And we as Black women, we have to show up, as you know,
Yes.
together.
Yes. All the way together. All the way together.
All the way together.
Yeah.
And I have been in situations where I wasn't so emotionally intelligent, and I allowed things like frustration and anger, fear can grip you. And if you're not paying attention in the moment, it's not about being able to go away and reflect. The intelligence is knowing what's happening to you right now. How are you feeling right now? What's the trigger? We've all heard that word, right? Trigger. Do you know your triggers?
Yep.
And the reason you're triggered.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would love to hear from those in the who are with us tonight. If you can just post in the chat, if you're okay with sharing, would love for you to share moments that you felt, that imposter syndrome. That's what we're here for. Like, where those moments in your life and your time that you felt that imposter syndrome, because Lisa's about to break down. She's about to break it all the way down about how to break free from all of that. Because listen, I mean, there's this whole thing, hashtag Black excellence, right? But I think we just forget how incredible and amazing and brilliant we are, because one, we're usually comparing ourselves to other people.
That's right.
Two, we are made to feel like we are not enough in certain environments. And I feel like that's where it's so important to have that sense of emotional intelligence, so that you are not internalizing what other people are trying to put on you.
That's right. And when we are the only one, and we are the only one a lot of the times. I just had a conversation with a brand new client who, for the first time, is leading a huge faith-based organization. She's the first Black woman to be in this position. And can you imagine the pressure?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And this is what we're going through as business owners, as leaders, and even in our homes, right? The pressure to perform, and it's that hyper visibility, right? We are invisible and hyper visible at the same time, because we're in these spaces and no one looks like us. Right? So it's the invisibility and the hyper visibility that triggers some of these emotions that lead to imposter syndrome.
Feeling like exactly. So let's get to it, because everybody want to know. Well, okay, I know what the problem is. I'm the problem. I got this mindset challenge. What do I do to break free from that and really just start owning my power? So what's your first tip for?
So the first thing we want to do is ground yourself in the reality of things, right? Oh, you got strengthen your self-awareness. Okay. Strengthen your self-awareness. No, that's fine. Strengthen your, well, and that's perfect, really, because self-awareness is the foundation of emotional intelligence. It's really our ability to, as I said, know and understand what you're feeling in the moment. That is self-awareness. And we hear a lot of people say, oh, I'm very self-aware. And I find that not to be so true.
Right?
Yeah. Do you really know when you are angry, right? What the trigger was and what it's telling you, right? And so when you are in a space where you are feeling like an imposter, you're not an imposter, you're scared. I mean, you're afraid.
Say that again. Like that's deep. That's deep. I don't think I've ever heard that perspective before.
You're not an imposter, you're scared. And being aware, what is fear telling you in the moment? Right? That is self-awareness. One, I am afraid, right? And so we have to own it, right? Understand what we're feeling. And then it's digging deeper and trying to understand what fear is trying to tell me in this moment. You know, are you afraid? And we're usually fearful of one of two things. We're afraid to fail, or we're afraid to be rejected.
That's so true. That is so
Right.
true. That's so true.
And,
Absolutely.
and so this imposter syndrome, you're not an imposter. You are afraid of something. Something is at stake. And it's usually high stakes. You're launching your eyelash business, Renee. And I'm not saying that you, Renee, that you have imposter syndrome, but I'm using your example, right? Cordelia, you are a clothing designer and you're launching a line of clothing, right? You're putting it out into the world, right? And the day you want to launch and the day you hit go, something might take over. And it's not that you're not experienced. It's not that you don't know your stuff.
Yeah.
It's that you're scared.
Yeah. So Lisa, I would love, because I always want to find ways to make this very real to folks.
Yeah.
Can you give an example of, because you were in a very high profile position as an executive at a major bank. So can you give an example of an instance where you experienced imposter syndrome and how you used these two things? And I know there's a third one we're going to get to, but how you use these two things to kind of get yourself recentered, I guess, in a way.
So when one of the biggest jobs I had in my professional role in corporate, I was a chief of staff. And so the person who had that position before me retired. They didn't fill the position for about 3 or 4 years and decided to bring the role back. So I wasn't necessarily the first in the role, but I was the first in like 4 years. The hiring manager had no person of color on the staff. And I knew nobody in this 2,200 person organization.
Wow.
So, and I didn't know the hiring manager. I mean, I just applied for the job. I got it on my own merit, and here I am, right?
Yeah. And are you okay with mentioning where it was? Or
yeah, it was Wells Fargo.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, what are you gonna do?
I mean, no, I just didn't know if you know, I mean, it's on your LinkedIn profile. So.
Yeah, right. Listen, it was a great company, great job. I have no complaints.
Yeah.
So I'm in this chief of staff position, and my first, 1 or 2 assignments, the first thing I did was attending my leaders' offsite retreat, which was in Scottsdale, Arizona. Now I don't know anybody, and I'm expected to talk about my vision.
Wow, like literally, that was baptism by fire.
Baptism by fire.
Yeah.
Right. So I in this case, I know I'm afraid. Right. I'm afraid that I'm going to say something crazy, mess up, or look crazy. That's that fear of failure.
Fear, yeah.
Right. So I'm afraid. And grounding myself in the reality of who I am looked like building relationships with people in the room. So this was a 3-day retreat, right? At the end, the last day was the day or the morning that I had to do, and several of us had to speak, right? So I made it my business, right, to meet and talk to people and introduce myself as much as I could, so that I could get familiar with the faces and they could get familiar with me, right? And just ground myself in a few. So I had the people I was able to connect with, it might have been 75 people, 80 people there. My peers were important to me, right? So I prioritized who is it important to kind of connect with, to make me feel safe and make me feel a little bit comfortable. And there was one person, his finance person was a Black woman I straight up told her, come here, Sandra.
Sis, this was going on, right?
Right. What's the lowdown?
Right.
Who's that? And who's that over there? And who's that over there? You know what I mean?
So I wanna really pause there, and I want to emphasize what you're saying, because this part of grounding yourself in reality, I almost feel like it's another part to getting over imposter syndrome, is creating alliances. Like,
Yeah.
that is so key, because I don't know that we always know to do that naturally, you know? It's almost like that thing that people say when you're getting ready. If you're one of the people who get scared to speak in front of people, one of the ways to get over that is to actually get in the room before you speak and get to know some of the people in the room, so you don't feel like you're going on stage cold.
That's
This
right.
almost feels like a similar thing to that.
That's kind of what I do. You know, reality, grounding yourself in reality looks a lot of different ways. And one of the things could be building alliances. That is my strength. So you've got to play to your strengths, right? You've got to understand the reality of who you are and what you bring to the table, and the reality that you don't bring everything to the table, right? But there are some things you are great at. I am great at building relationships. So let me get on in here one on one and start picking people out and talking to them. Quick story about a leader that I am working with. Another part of grounding yourself in reality. So she was telling me she's an executive at another bank. And she just got a resource. What does that say?
So somebody, it's just a comment that relates to what you just said.
Okay. I feel like sometimes for me, it comes from making mistakes. Yes. Fear of ridicule, rejection, failure. That's right.
Yeah.
So this leader, thank you, Stephanie, for my shirt. Thank you.
And we're going to talk about that in a minute too. That's actually the next thing.
Behind it. But so this leader was given a resource. She just found out that she was given a human resource. She is given an analyst position, right? She doesn't have any direct reports, even though she's an executive. And she said, I'm afraid. So, okay, great. We've gotten past the first part. You recognize this is fear, right? So what are you afraid of? And she said, I'm afraid I'm going to be a bad leader. So let's go down that path. What does a bad leader look like? And she started describing things like taking credit for other people's work, not developing the person, not giving them a chance to shine. And she started laughing. She said, I would never do any of those things.
But she had probably experienced it and was probably projecting what had happened to her.
That's exactly right. So the reality, and I said, what's the reality of you doing any of those things? She's like, oh my God, I would never do none of it. Right?
Yeah.
So be real about who you are, what you bring to the table.
Yes. I love that. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
And I know Cordelia said, I don't think it's good enough and it won't sell in terms of her clothing design. So I would love to, let me speak on that for a second, because this all goes back to us feeling like we're good enough, right?
Yes.
It's so funny because I used to look at people back in the day and they could sell a piece of dirt on a shoe. Like, that's how much they could sell something because they believed in it so much. And what I have learned, and again, this goes back to really stepping into who you really are, right? Not who you think you are, because we're usually doing so much better than we think we are, right? But what I have learned is part of even conquering this whole imposter syndrome thing, and this is kind of goes into the next point Lisa's going to make, but it comes back to believing in whatever it is that you are doing, what you're selling, your product, your service. Like, you have to believe in it more than anybody else, because otherwise you're not going to be able to, whether it's selling yourself or selling a product or selling a service, nobody else is going to believe you if you don't believe yourself.
Absolutely. That's right.
You know, so that actually brings us to
the
third point. So let's talk about that, Miss Lisa, because this right here, yes.
Somebody cue, what's the name of the group that sings Be Optimistic?
Oh,
Sounds of Blackness.
Oh, okay. I have to find that song. I don't know what you're talking about.
Be optimistic. Now, listen, I am a pessimist. I am here and I am telling
Are
you,
you really, Lisa?
I am.
Oh man, I've never experienced that with you.
I am doom and gloom. And when you think about optimism and pessimism, I am the person who prepares for the worst. That means I think the worst.
Mm-hmm.
When I go before this group of people, what if I trip up the steps on the podium? I mean, I'm the person that's thinking these kinds of things. And optimism builds resilience.
Yes, it does.
So, my self awareness, because I know I'm a pessimist, I have the ability or the opportunity to pause and stop myself when I get those thoughts coming. And I also work hard to have affirmation statements, things that feed positivity because I don't naturally think it. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think what this is part of being self-aware, right? Because for those of us who do have a hard time, and I think we all go through it, even those who,
Yes.
I mean, you know me, Lisa, I'm probably one of the most optimistic people
Yes, you are.
for me, but I have my moments, right? We all have our moments. And I think it really goes back to that whole thing of being self-aware and understanding where that
That's right.
thought process came from. And that's you. Listen, this is stuff that's been programmed into you from the time you were like that big, right? So I think that's part of the journey of being self-aware is understanding where does that even come from so that you can actually address it at the heart of the matter.
That's right. There's no reason to beat yourself down because you are one thing or another. Things are what they are. Let's just admit it and deal with it. Because when you don't deal with it, it feeds into the fear, right? But once you own it, fear doesn't have anything to cling on to.
Yes.
So I am a pessimist. So what?
You know that now.
Right. I admit it, I know it, and I will work on it. Right. And I will build it. But there are also strengths, as I mentioned, that you have that you must play to in order to stay positive. You need to affirm yourself. You need to find ways to affirm yourself and to think positively as best you can about who you are and what you bring to the table.
And you know what? I don't know. Some of you all may have seen this. I know Caroline Wanga, who is the president of Essence Communications. She's incredible. My goodness.
Yes, she is.
And like, this is her thing. She talks about being a failure recoverist.
Yep.
And she said something in a LinkedIn Live that she did a few weeks ago that I had to write down because I think this part of affirming yourself is so important. She said whenever she gets into her head, because I think she's similar to you, Lisa, where she gets into her head and no matter how much she's accomplished, it's all like everything hits her at once. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm no good. I'm this, I'm that, you know? So she said what she does, and I would encourage everyone to consider doing this. I've started doing it and it actually helps me. She keeps a brag book nearby where it's a list of all of her accomplishments, testimonials from people who she's helped, you know, results that she's gotten in her career. So even as part of affirming yourself, take the things that you've already accomplished in it because we forget, right? Especially for those of us who are high achievers, we're so focused on finishing that thing, reaching that goal, and moving on to the next thing. We don't necessarily celebrate what we just did, you know, and we forget. Right? I think we all do that. So I have found, and I've started doing this. I actually have a Google Doc that I keep up on one of my 111 tabs on my computer, but it has like a list of testimonials from people, results, like those types of things that I can go back to and click on when I'm just like, oh, I don't know about this. It's just a good reminder.
I love that. I love that. I had a therapist tell me to do that once. I have certifications, I have degrees, and every piece of paper I earned is stuffed somewhere in a book. I have nothing hanging up. Nothing that reminds me of my journey, and I really
You've had a
need,
journey.
yeah,
You've had
yeah,
a journey.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I really
So,
need to remind myself. Yeah.
yeah, I think
So,
we all
yep,
could use
yep.
that. I would
Absolutely.
love to hear from some of you all in the comments. You know, if any of you all have done anything like that, whether it's affirmations, what some of your favorite affirmations are, if you keep a brag book and how that helps you. So post in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. So speaking of affirmations, because you know you rocking a pretty dope affirmation right now, and somebody asked about your T-shirt, Miss Lisa. So tell us what the T-shirt says,
It
and
says,
tell us where that came from.
I belong on the call, in the room, at the table. The shirt, the statement came from a coaching conversation. I was working with a Black woman executive, and she had to do a boardroom presentation. And she just kept saying, you know, she's the only Black person, she's the only woman. And she's like, she called it a bro culture. That was her.
Mm,
And she just kept saying, I mean, I just don't belong here. I just
mm,
don't feel like I belong here.
mm.
And I said, yes, you do. You belong on those calls. You belong in that boardroom and at every table. And I wrote it down and I passed it along to a brilliant designer.
I have a great team. I have a great team. I can't take full credit.
Well, it's all right. And they brought it to life.
Yeah.
Um, but it is,
I'm gonna put it up while you're talking about it because
ooh,
I love this.
I got a purple
I
book.
got my little because you know purple is my favorite color, so I had to get one of these. But this is great for me, and I tell you, I have been using this on a regular basis and reminding myself that I do belong and I've earned the right to be there. But please continue.
Well, there's some in the comments. I do listen to affirmations in the mirror, not consistently, but it's a practice that works. Yeah. I recite, is that Williamson?
Oh yeah, I love Marianne Williamson. Yeah.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yes, that's
Nice.
a powerful quote. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond
Beyond
measure.
measure.
Oh, that is so true.
It
That is
is
100%.
powerful. That
Yep.
is powerful. I need to
Hmm.
write that down.
Yeah.
Dr.
Yeah.
K, I need to write
Yeah.
that down. And
Yeah.
so, you know, we belong. It doesn't matter whether or not someone else believes you belong there or not. What do you believe
Hmm.
about who you are and what you bring to the table? And it's important. Let's not confess or state or give imposter syndrome, that term,
Hmm.
any more credence, any more
Yeah.
power, right? Call it fear, or call it
Mm,
I'm a little, you know,
I like
worried,
that.
because then it puts it in a different space.
Yes.
We understand fear and we know we've been afraid before,
Hmm.
right? So now that I know that I'm afraid,
Hmm.
right, I can manage that differently. When
Mm,
we call it this syndrome thing, it's like, what in the world?
right. That is so true. Because it's like when you give it a name that's actually more accessible than a syndrome, which sounds like a disease. It's like when you give it a name, it's like,
Right,
oh, okay, now I can actually make a plan to address what it is and how to deal with it versus, oh, it's a syndrome. What am I supposed to do with that?
right.
Yeah,
Right.
I love
So
that.
it's not some syndrome. And
Mhm.
and yes, it does happen to high performing people because we have high expectations of ourselves,
Mhm.
right? We already put a tremendous amount of pressure on ourselves to do well and to do right, right? And it's okay to admit, find somebody, and that's not one of the three, but I'm going to add, find somebody you trust to
Mm,
say, Julian, I am launching a new so and so, and I am scared to death,
mm. Yes.
right? And
Yes.
she, trust her. or him
Mm-hmm.
to kind
That's
of
powerful.
talk you back down.
Yeah.
Tell me something good about me so I
Yes.
can come out of this headspace. Just
Yes.
ask for something.
I love that. And that really, and I did a whole live, it was actually a Facebook live that I did a couple of weeks ago about, is it time to rethink your circle? Because
Yeah,
that's where it's so important to have the right people in your circle who can hold space for you
that's
when you
right.
can't hold it for yourself.
Yes, that's right. That's right. That's right.
So I wanted to make sure you all knew, for those who love the t-shirt, some of you all already have it. I have mine and I have my journal here. And yes, our company did design the products and all of Lisa's brand, and she's been amazing to work with. So that link that you see there is actually where you can find out more about Lisa, as well as where you can get in her shop some of those products. Because I'm telling you, with some of the things that I'm working on right now, this has been this right here, Lisa. I'm telling you, I can see why it was such a popular shirt, because it went viral when you first put
Yes,
it
it
out there, and
did.
you were not expecting that.
No, I wasn't.
I think you mailed out like what 250 t-shirts in like 2 weeks
Yes,
or
I
something like
did.
that. It was a lot of t-shirts.
It
But
went like hotcakes.
yes, but this has been, when I tell you, I mention this to people all the time when I talk to them. I use it myself. This is such a powerful reminder. And then even just it goes back to some of the things that, going back and remembering the things that you've already done. Like,
Yes,
you've already done bad things, right? Bad
yes,
isn't good, right? Bad isn't good, but
that's
you've
right.
already done amazing things. And so if you did it before, you can do it again. And there's a song for
Yep, yep,
that.
yep,
But
yep.
speaking about affirmations, since we're on affirmations, definitely make sure to check out Lisa's store. And if you are looking for somebody to help you break free from imposter syndrome, because you are leveling up, connect with Lisa for sure. She is brilliant. She's amazing. She's been where you are. She knows how to help you get to the next level. For those who are looking for affirmations, and this is something that's near and dear to me, we actually have created affirmation cards, because you all, things are like really heavy for a lot of us right now. And I see the conversation in the social media streets. I hear the conversations in real life. And I am just like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
We need to find ways to lighten the load. So this is what my team and I are doing. We are actually sending out these free affirmation cards. Choose joy. This is probably my favorite and what I stick to all the time. We're sending out these free affirmation cards because we want you all to just have more light in life, in your life, like light and love in your life, right? So, and also just to have a reminder of the fact that you are brilliant just where you are, and that you do belong on the call, in the room, and at the table, and that you're worth it, right? You're worth it.
Mm.
You are worth it. So go ahead and make that investment in yourself, right? You have to understand that you deserve that, right? You deserve to be there. You deserve to invest in yourself. You deserve to have more if you ask for more. So we're sending these out free, absolutely free. The link is right there. If you all want to just fill out the form, we'll get those out in the mail to you. And it is first come, first serve, because we have a limited number available. We've gotten, oh gosh, over 50 orders in probably 3 or 4 days.
Wow.
So, yeah. So just make sure, if you want these, that you put your order in. And the reason why we're actually doing these, it's actually part of an experience that we are hosting for visionary Black women this April 2024 in Maryland. And Lisa's actually on the host committee for this experience, the Emerge Live experience. And one of the reasons why this is actually an initiative and a experience that my company is hosting. So as I mentioned, earlier, when I work with women in building their brands, transforming their brands, I learned that actually transforming and building your brand is very similar. It's a very similar process to transforming your life. And I went through a very defining moment in 2022
Mm.
when I attended 6 funerals. And it's one of those things where you can decide, is this going to take me out, or is this going to help me level up and get a lot more clarity around how I want to spend my time, my resources, my energy, my talent, all of those things. And so I chose to turn that pain into purpose, because what I recognized was, yes, I was going through it, but as I was talking to other women and people in my circle, and these are ongoing conversations, because even with you, Lisa, I'm finding out things that you're going through and dealing with
Mhm.
in your own
Mhm.
life. So a
Mhm.
lot of times we're going through stuff, but it's usually in isolation.
Yep.
We don't realize that there's other people experiencing the same thing, other
That's
women in our
right.
circle who are experiencing the same thing and need that support.
That's right.
Um, so for me, I felt like
Mhm.
I was so fortunate to have the resources, to have the support system. I have an incredible family and a circle of sisters. Lisa, you are absolutely included in that circle. But I recognize not everybody has that.
Yeah.
So um, I want to encourage you all to check out emergelivexp.com. This is an experience that we are creating for you, right? To rediscover joy. That is our theme this year, is to rediscover joy. And it is a 3-day transformative experience for visionary Black women. We're talking about women who are like the ones on this call, right? You're a visionary, you're a trendsetter, you're a leader, you're an influencer, but you're tired. Like, you are tired and you need somebody to pour into you. Um, and I do want to mention that today is the last day for early bird registration. So there's definitely a lot more information on the website with information about this experience. But I can tell you, in addition to Lisa, who's going to be speaking on how to know what you're worth and to ask for it in your life and in your career. We're going to have some incredible speakers. We're going to have some surprise announcements this month for Black History Month. So this is a room that you want to be in, right? You belong in this room, because we are putting together an incredible experience. And it also is going to include, so for us, I think what's really important, and I'm sure Lisa, you experience this with your clients, is a lot of times we feel like we have to be one thing at work and another thing in our personal lives.
That's
Talk
right.
about it. Talk about it. Let's talk about it right quick. Let's talk about, because this is part of what we're addressing at Emerge Live. But I want you to talk about that, because that's part of what causes us so much stress, I think.
That's right. Yeah. Remember, wherever I am, there I go. You
Yes.
don't split yourself in half, and you don't become somebody different when you step off an elevator or go inside of an office door, go through an office door.
Uh-huh.
Wherever you are, there you go, and wherever you go, there you
There you
are.
are.
And the energy that we are spending separating ourselves and hiding and protecting,
Uh,
you can be who you are and withhold information. You don't
uh.
need to withhold who you are.
Ooh, say that again. I have never heard it said like that. Say that again. I think we need to hear that one more
You can be who you are and withhold information. You don't have to withhold who you
time.
are.
Wow.
So I don't
That's
have to
powerful.
introduce myself as a single mother of 5 children. I get to withhold that piece of me if I want to, right?
Mhm.
But that's not withholding who I am, who I
Mm,
naturally am, my
mm.
personality, my
Yeah.
strengths, and all of these things, right?
Mhm.
So you can choose and be selective about what you share,
Yes. Oh,
right? But you want to bring all of you
yes.
everywhere you go.
That's, oh man, that's powerful. That's your next t-shirt. That's your next t-shirt. We're gonna work on that. Um, but I'm so glad you said that, because part of what we're doing at Emerge Live is for those of us who have still trying to figure out, how do we navigate exactly what Lisa just said, right? Being who you are in every aspect of your life without necessarily oversharing, so to speak, or
Yeah,
feeling like
yeah.
you have to tell more than what is necessary in that situation, in that moment, in that
Right.
space. And so at Emerge Live, we're actually going to be having one day of personal development, because at the heart of it is healing. There's
Mm.
so much healing that needs to take place before you can fully walk in your power, right? Because you can sit there and continue doing everything that you're doing and do it exhausted, because you are emotionally spent, you are psychologically just battered, your mental health is shot,
Yeah.
right? And so we're going to be addressing those things and really creating a safe space for Black women where we can authentically connect with
Mm.
like-minded women. And when I tell you all what we are planning, one of the things that we want to do is actually explore different ways to heal, because not everything works for everybody, right? So we're going to have a sound bath session, and if you all have never been to a sound bath session, it is, for me, it was very magical. I went to my first one last year and I was like, oh my gosh, it was so therapeutic. We're going to have African dance, an African dance class. It's going
Cannot
to
wait.
teach you how to use dance and movement as a form of healing, right?
Mm.
So we want to address those things internally so that we can release them and make space for the amazing people we were created to be, and be able to walk fully in that. So there's definitely more information
Mm.
on the website. You can check it out. Like I said, today's the last day for early bird registration. I am going to encourage you not to wait till the last minute, because as we are announcing some of these incredible speakers and other things that are going to be happening with this experience, I promise you these tickets are going to sell out. And this is an investment in you. So I encourage you to follow us on Emerge Live EXP on every platform: LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, all of them, all of the things, y'all, all the things. All the things. And we're really active, of course, on Instagram, on Facebook. We just launched our LinkedIn page today. You're going to want to follow us because we're going to be having announcements. And just our whole thing is we really want to uplift and elevate you all, right? Like that's what this whole experience is about. So we're going to always have uplifting quotes and videos just to get you into a different mindset and really prepare you for this experience. So,
Love it.
Lisa,
I love it. And
mm,
here's the thing. I heard you use the word invest. And for we family, right? Well, y'all
absolutely.
in the chat, we
We
family.
family. We family. Yes.
We are family. Please, ladies, please learn to invest in yourselves.
Mm,
We invest in our children's education, we invest in our spouses, we invest in our communities, in our
mhm,
churches.
mm.
We are investing everywhere
Everywhere else.
but here.
Mm, mm,
And I meet women all the time, day in and day out, who may say something like, well, they've never had a coach,
mm,
or they
mm,
don't have a mentor,
mm, mm.
they don't have sponsorship, they don't have a circle or a tribe or
Yeah.
relationships in a way that helps them to elevate. We all have friends, but are the friends helping you to sustain your joy or bring your joy?
Mm,
So invest in the exposure of a different kind of experience. Be
mhm,
open to these are the things you need to get past the things that you are struggling to get past, right?
So true.
We
So
need time in healing spaces. We need to reset our minds. We need new energy.
yes.
We need new voices. We
Mm-hmm.
need new ideas. Tell
Mm-hmm.
them about the vision room.
Oh yes, and I, you know what? I forgot to mention the actual date. So the dates are April 19th to the 21st, 2024, and that was very intentional to select that date, because that's actually literally the beginning of spring, right? That's
Mm.
when energy is really shifting, right? And we want to take advantage of that energy. So one of the experiences that we are creating for you at Emerge Live, because we want you not only to shift your mindset, but build and create a new vision for your
Yes.
life. Because I think what we sometimes forget is that we may have outgrown the thing that we thought we wanted to do, but we don't have clarity around what to do next. So we actually are creating what we're calling the Creative Visionary Lounge, where it's going to be a fully stocked, inspiring vision board room with everything you need to create a new vision for your life, along with someone, a really dynamic speaker who, again, we're going to be announcing this coming month, who's going to teach you not only how to create a vision board with intention, not putting stuff on there that you think is cute and everybody going to be like, oh, you working towards that. Like, no, like,
Right.
really doing it with intention.
Mhm.
And then how do you then go about manifesting the things on that vision board
Mhm.
once you've created it? Because listen,
Mhm.
you don't want to be creating it. I mean, it's great to have like a beautiful piece of artwork that you just stick on
Mhm.
your wall, but if you're
Mhm.
not doing anything with it, what's the point? Like,
That's
where are you
right.
going? you know?
That's right.
So this is truly an immersive retreat that we are creating. And our intention with it is to make sure every woman that attends, that she feels seen, that she feels heard, that she feels embraced, and that she knows that she belongs.
Mm.
That is the intention. So I want to thank you all so much for joining us. I would love, as we're getting ready to wrap up, for you all to post your comments in the chat. Let us know what are some of your greatest takeaways from this conversation, because our goal is to always support you and really pour into you. Um, and we don't take for granted, the time that you're spending here this evening. We all have 11 things that we could be doing, but
That's
you're
right.
here because you
That's
recognize
right.
that you needed to be. And I want
Julian, are you holding these? These are are you going to go
every
through
week.
February?
Yes,
So yeah, because
absolutely.
I've been attending all the series. Every Wednesday at 7, I'm
Mhm.
tuning in,
Yeah,
and so she's had some fantastic speakers
yeah.
and presenters, and you did something on rebranding. I think was it last week?
Last
I mean,
week.
these are
Yep.
really, really, really good. Oh, look who's coming!
Yes, so we have another incredible coach, communications coach and speaker who will be joining us
Nice.
next week. And you all, Amber, well, let me not get it twisted. Dr. Amber Wright, because she just got her PhD a few months ago. I'm gonna make sure I honor that, okay?
I know that's
Um,
right.
but Dr. Amber Wright, she is one of the most phenomenal communicators that I know. And she's going to be joining us next week to teach you how to speak up in order to get what you want and what you deserve. Because it's one thing to have it in our heads and be like, yeah, I know I deserve it, but you don't know how to communicate that, right?
Mm,
And I'm sure, Lisa, this is probably something that you work
mm,
with your clients on as
mhm,
well. But the funny
mhm.
thing is, it's always easier to say that to other people sometimes than it is to apply it to yourself.
Yep,
Like you
that
can
is so true.
but yeah, no, definitely join us next week. We're here every Wednesday at 7 p.m. and we'll be, posting the topics usually a week in advance, so you all have a chance to see what's happening also here. But you do not want to miss this conversation if you are the type of person who you just want more out of life, but you're not quite sure how to communicate that. So make sure you are with us.
And something you said when you were talking about Dr. Wright, and you said, let me not get it twisted, doctor.
Right.
Here's one other nugget on our way out the door.
Mm-hmm.
Introduce yourself in a way that commands respect.
Oh,
We're on these video
yes.
calls and we're zooming in and zooming out,
Yes.
and we so quickly say, hi, this is Lisa. No, Lisa Medley, you state your name
Mm,
with power
mm,
and
mm.
affirm it in an affirming way. This is
Yes.
Dr. Amber Wright.
Yes.
You said,
Yes.
right?
Own it.
Own it. Don't
Own
glaze
it.
over. Hi, this is Barbara. I mean,
Right.
you can sit on the
Like
call.
like you ain't done nothing in your life. Like it's your
Right.
neighbor you introducing.
Good
Uh,
morning. This is Cordelia Adams joining. Right?
yes.
There's a difference
Yes.
in
There
that,
is.
or hi, this is Cordelia.
Yeah. There
right?
is. You're
So
100%
state your
correct.
name and do it in a way that people know. Listen, there's
Yeah.
some power behind my
Yeah.
name.
Yeah. Or like I tell all my babies, say it with your chest. Say it with your chest. Say it with your chest.
Yes,
Oh man.
yes, yes.
So thank you so much for that, Lisa. This has been phenomenal. I really hope this has given you all some of what you need to really get to your next level, and that you will look at joining us this April. It is going to be such an incredible experience. And make sure I put Lisa's information there. If you are looking for somebody to coach you to your next level, check out Lisa. Check out her merchandise if you're just looking for things to keep you affirmed and motivated as you grow on your own journey. And then I want to leave you all with this powerful quote. This is actually at the heart of our theme for Emerge Live, because listen, it takes work to become and fully own and walk in the power that you were created to walk in
Mm.
and to be. And it's just a reminder that, you look at some folks and they're like, it looks like they have everything together, but you have no idea what they went through to get there. So,
No
on
idea.
that note, I want to say good night to everyone. Thank you for joining us. We will see you next week. And if you got anything valuable from this live, I encourage you to share it with others who could use what we have shared, because listen, a rising tide lifts all boats. And that's what we're here to do,
Ooh, I
is
like it.
uplift and elevate all of the peoples, all of the peoples.
And Cordelia, we are so glad that you enjoyed it. And we are
Yes.
glad that we met you where you needed it. Thanks for coming.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You all have a good night. We'll see you next week.